Hi, welcome back, friends. It's nice to see you again. Amanda Decker here, nurse practitioner at DMA Weight and Wellness. I have a special guest for you today. I have Coco Alaniz, and we met several years ago at a low carb conference. I think we had connected a little bit before that at through social media, possibly, and then we got to meet each other. I want to say it was at Low Carb San Diego, or was it Boca?
It was both.
Ah,
It
I
was both.
her twice. Got to meet her twice, and I loved her story. And at that point on, I wanted to have her here to share with you and share her story with you. And I hope you learn a lot. Her name on social media is Weight Watchers Gone Keto, which is something that just struck me as yes, because so many people have been in and out of the Weight Watchers program. And there's some very good things about the Weight Watchers program. We
Yeah.
tell our people all the time, hey, I love the accountability. I love the support. I think that's important. They do focus a little bit more on whole foods than processed food, which is important. But so many people fall in and out of that bandwagon a lot. And there's a lot of people that did Weight Watchers one time and were successful, and now they're coming back and it's not. I love your name, and I think we'll get to speak into a little bit of that in your story. So, Coco, welcome to our
Thank you.
podcast. It's not even a podcast, or a little airing here. And thank you for joining me. It is a great privilege to me.
Thank you. I am so honored. I haven't done a podcast since I think it's been 4 years. The last time I did a podcast, I did one with Dr. Brian Lenskis,
Uh-huh.
and then I did one with Yogi Carnivore.
Oh,
But it's been a minute. It's been
yeah.
kind of
Well,
been.
welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, yeah, let me just share a little bit about my name, Weight Watchers Gone Keto,
Absolutely.
and how that happened. And I have to give all credit to Dr. Kim Berry.
Okay.
He was the genius, and it was in San Diego. And he goes, well, what's your Instagram name? I want to follow you. And I think it was Latino Gone Keto or something
Yeah.
like that. He goes, wait a minute. No, you're Weight Watcher Gone Keto. And I'm like, oh. And right there, he was standing there in the
Yeah.
little area where we had the vendors. Where Doug and Pam had the vendors. And he goes, change it right now, right now. And I did, and it's done. Weight Watchers Gone Keto. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It speaks a lot to your story, which is kind of nice. You know, it tells who you are. I mean, mine is Deckerless Carbs, and it's
I
like, hey,
love that.
my last name, and I'm eating less carbs. It's simple and it's catchy and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna introduce you guys to her, and then I'm gonna let her dive into her story and tell you a little bit more. So in September of 2018, she embarked on a transformation journey through the world of keto. After spending decades following the Weight Watchers plan in pursuit of moderation, hate that word, she came to a profound realization. It simply didn't work for her, like it simply didn't work for a lot of other people. As she dove into the realm of low carb eating, she became a firm believer in its potential to reverse health conditions, chronic health conditions like lupus and Parkinson's, things that people thought were never able to be reversed. Her personal journey has been marked with years of pain, suffering, and a multitude of medications. However, through her commitment to a low carb lifestyle, her weight stabilized, her symptoms gradually faded, and she was left with a renewed sense of well being and vitality. That's a good word right there, vitality.
Yeah.
She currently coaches elder folks in California and Arizona and loves seeing their transformation. So, once again, welcome, and just take some time to tell us about your story, kind of where you started and where you are now.
All right, Amanda. I guess 1994, 95. Don't fact check me by checking my other podcast because my dates may be a little bit off, but I think it was 95, 94. After probably 3 years of doctor appointments with specialists, and I was sick. I was really, really sick. I ended up in the hospital, severely anemic. I was going in for transfusion, and I ended up going in early. And next thing I know, I'm being isolated because I have viral meningitis.
Oh my.
I'm like, what?
Mm.
And that just took me down a really, really bad health journey. It was really bad. And I think what was worse about it was not only searching for a diagnosis, because once you know, then you feel like you're empowered to conquer. You know, they
Mhm.
said possibly cancer, possibly this, possibly leukemia, all these possibilities, bone marrow biopsies,
Yeah.
not once, not twice, 3 times.
Oh my word.
And it was a pretty lengthy journey. Finally, after about 3 years, which was probably at this point 95, 96, I get a diagnosis.
Mm.
And they tell me you have systemic lupus erythematosus. And I'm
Mm.
like, okay, am I going to die? Right? I mean, you've
Yeah.
never heard of it. I go, I don't know. I don't know what that is. I have no idea. But I was told, no, you're just going to, it's a chronic disease. And unfortunately, it will send you down this journey.
Yeah.
Well, I remember, and I mentioned this in Brian Lansky's podcast, I was following at that point, I had realized that Charles Kuralt he used to do the Sunday morning show on CBS.
Mm-hmm.
He had mentioned that he had lupus.
Mm.
And I was following his journey. And one of the things that he said was, lupus will not kill you. What you're going to die from is kidney damage, liver damage, because of all the medications.
Yeah.
And he goes, you have about a 20-year expiration date once you've given that diagnosis. And he was being very real, because following like 3 months, he passed away.
Wow.
So I was, okay, 20 years. And in my head, my clock was ticking.
Mm.
And during that process, I saw a rheumatologist, an endocrinologist, an internal medicine doctor was my primary.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going through this continual doctor's appointments. I mean, I can tell you that in a month, I probably had 3 doctor's appointments for probably 10 years.
Mm.
I had transfusions. I had blood transfusions. They didn't know why I was anemic. And I go, well, would it have anything to do with my menses? Because they're really heavy. Oh, no. You're severely anemic. It has nothing to do with that. 10 years later, I have a hysterectomy. And guess what? My blood levels
Anemia goes away.
No more blood transfusions. I was like, geez, people, and I always thought myself a very compliant patient. Whatever they told me to do, I did.
Mm.
I would report my diet. I would report what I ate, which included probably a 12-pack of Diet Coke a week. And nobody ever said, you may want to stop that.
Yeah.
I was really standard American diet with a little Mexican flair, because everything I cooked had poblano peppers in it. So even if it was an American dish or an Italian,
just a little spice there.
I needed my spice, and so it was a standard Mexican American diet, right? So my doctors would tell me, well, you should do yoga, you should go stretch, you should go walk. I couldn't even stand to have sheets on my body from the pain.
Yeah.
And to think that I could do yoga was just kind of laughable. And my doctor was like, just when you walk, park further away, so at least you get a few steps in. When you go grocery shopping, walk from the end of the parking lot. They had these kind of clever ideas to get steps in, because that was going to be my only exercise, probably for the week.
Yeah.
Because I was, for periods of time, I would be bedridden. I would work a lot. I was back then. I've done everything, Amanda. Oh my gosh, if you knew I have attention deficit career disorder. I promise you. I have been a vocational rehabilitation counselor. I've been a workshop facilitator with people looking for work. I think the longest job I had was an environmental consultant in the state of California.
Okay.
Because it took me a long time to get my credentials for that. So I had to stay in that for a while.
You had to pay for itself.
I worked for private companies, but it was probably the job that I was at the longest. But for every time that I went away to teach, it was a 40-hour class, I needed like 40 hours of just rest, because I had to gear up for the next flight to Arizona, to San Francisco. At that point, I was living in San Diego. But all that time, I'm still not well.
Yeah.
How I retained information and how I taught is probably, I'm going to say this and it may sound kind of corny, but it was a God thing. It really was, because I felt that I was sustained by some supernatural power, and it wasn't me. It really wasn't me. But in that process, nobody ever said, look at the way you eat. They did suggest, try Weight Watchers. If you keep your weight down, that will help with the joint symptoms. It will help with a lot of other issues, including the lupus. So easiest place for me to land was Weight Watchers. And I did that from 2001 to probably, I think I left in 2019. And I was a member. I decided I wanted I finally, with Weight Watchers, a couple of the things is that if you make lifetime, you don't pay.
Yeah.
You don't pay that monthly fee. And that monthly fee was, I don't know, $40, $50 a month.
Yeah.
And of course, I did learn a lot of things. I would cut my tortillas in half. I would roll that up lengthwise. So I was eating 2 tortillas instead of 1. I mean, all the mind tricks that I would play being Weight Watchers.
Yeah.
Was just crazy. But none of it, it was margarine. It was seed milk. It was no lard, no meat, little bit of chicken. Yeah, remove all the fat. And I finally, after, I don't know, probably 15 years, I finally was able to make gold. Because if I got close, I would quit. I would quit because, $40. I had 2 daughters and it was a lot. It would be a little bit expensive.
Yeah.
And I would immediately gain my weight back. A couple months later, talk to my husband, I'm going to go back to Weight Watchers. So finally I decided 2000 and probably 15, 16, I kind of toyed with the idea of being a coach.
Yeah.
And my coach said, oh my gosh, you speak Spanish. You can do Spanish classes. Amazing. Yes, yes, yes. So I got encouraged. I became a coach. It was cool because they sent us to Chicago for a week and we went to training. And I realized that every time I would go back to Weight Watchers, every single time, the coach, the receptionist, I kind of felt like after so many years, I kind of finally picked up on the question they would ask me, why do you come back to Weight Watchers? And I said, well, because it works. So when I went to training, I found out that's one of the things you learn to ask all the members that return. We call them frequent flyers. We call them repeat offenders. So I was not a repeat offender because I have, I kept going back when I gained my weight. And when I was in training, the trainer asked, why does everybody come back to Weight Watchers? And I'm not kidding you, in unison, there must have been 28 of us. Because it works. And then, I was with someone from San Diego and I said, well, if it works, why do we always come back?
Why are we getting off of it at the first place if it works?
Exactly. And I guess my voice carried. And when we walked out, the trainer goes, I heard that comment you made to my friend from San Diego. And I said, well, yeah, why do we come back? If it worked, really, honestly, I'm asking an honest question. I know I was being sarcastic and possibly thought I was funny, but she obviously didn't think I was funny. And I said, but, as a coach, how will I handle that?
Yeah.
How will I address that? She goes, oh, that question has never come up. And I go, well, it doesn't mean it's not going to come up.
Correct.
And
it just did. You brought it up.
I'm a coach now in training, and I want to know, how do I deal with that? Well, hemming and hawing, I never got a response. But when I came back to San Diego, at that time I was doing a lot of corporate meetings. And the corporate meetings, they would send you out to an actual Hewlett Packard office or the school district, or it was hosted by businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably was handling, I don't know, 7, 8 meetings a week, including 4 or 5 corporate meetings. And everybody really wanted those corporate meetings because your payment was a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
So during that time, they changed the program, and oh my gosh, they named it Freestyle. And they had, if I recall, close to 200 foods, fruits, veggies that were considered free. You didn't have to track them. You didn't have to weigh them.
Yeah.
You could just eat them. So, oh my goodness, watermelon, fruit, grapes, all 0 points. And fine writing, the 0 points were if you ate a measured amount, but we were trained to tell our customers, you don't have to weigh it, you don't have to track it, you can eat as much basically as you want. So I remember that I could eat half of a watermelon in one sitting, Amanda.
Oh my word.
Half of a watermelon? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Now that I think about it,
you're like, how in the world did I do that? And how much sugar was that? And
exactly. So
one side question while you're there is, when you were eating this way, having that, did you ever feel like your inflammation from your lupus improved? Like, did you ever have a day where you're like, man, I lost 10 pounds and I feel great. My lupus symptoms are gone.
No.
So never. Okay.
Never. And prior to that, let me finish this and then I'm going to go back. Because what happened was I started getting clients come in and they say, I went to the doctor, my A1C was elevated. I had no idea what an A1C was. I have a degree as a health educator. Still, I have no clue what an A1C. I'm like, okay, well, let me find out. Then I had another person come in and weigh in, and my A1C is elevated. So I talked to my coach, a more experienced coach, and I said, I'm getting questions about A1C. Oh, just let them know to trust the process. Trust the process. That wasn't settling with me. And I said, you know what? It's the fruit. All the sugar. It's the fruit. I realized that it was an indicator for possibly diabetes. So when this lady came back the following month, we were not allowed to contact them like a real coach. Now I'm on, I'm texting my clients. You couldn't do that in Weight Watchers. You had to wait for them to come back. So we were not allowed to contact them unless they missed a payment, or other than that, we were not allowed to contact our members.
Yeah.
And so I waited. She came back and I said, well, you may want to consider lowering your fruit. Well, why? If you told me and your staff is saying that it's a free food, why? Why now? And I said, well, you may just want to, why really? I mean, she was valid in her asking me that because I had just told her, you don't have to weigh it. You don't have to track it. You can eat as much as you want.
Yeah.
That wasn't true.
Yeah.
And, your question about inflammation was really interesting because no, I didn't feel any better. However, at that time, I think, 2007, what they do with lupus patients, because they cannot control your pain. They can give you medicine for inflammation. I didn't realize how much medicine I was on because I had some by my nightstand. I had some in the kitchen. I had some by the dining room table. And I never, ever counted how much meds I was taking until I think what they do with patients with chronic pain is they send you to pain management. They teach you how to journal. You get together. It's almost like Alcoholics Anonymous. You talk. And I couldn't do that. I could not do the group thing because it was depressing. And I'm not that kind of a person. Even in fact, even if I was in that much pain, I was not going to engage in, oh my gosh, I can't get up in the morning. Oh my. I had to find another way, even if that was true, I could not verbalize that. I had a husband, I had 2 daughters, and I could not verbalize in a group the pain. I went in there, sat down, walked out of there thinking, oh my gosh, people can become suicidal by going to these groups, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So they sent me to a pain management group, and I said, well, I'll go to the sessions, but I'm not going to do this group thing. I can't. Too depressing, and I'm not going to do that. A doctor that was the head of that particular facility said, make sure that in your first appointment, I had to take all my meds. Amanda, I had 14 medications, 14 prescriptions I was taking, 14. And we set them all out, and he goes, oh my word, 14 medications. And I said, well, these are the original, and these are the ones that counteract the effects of these first 7. And when I looked at them, I said, I want to get off of them. I need help. And he said, well, he was a vegan, and he said, I want you to read a book. I think you're a reader. And I go, yeah, I am. And I don't know if the title is Forks Over Knives or Forks Not Knives, but yeah, there's a documentary. I went home, I watched the documentary, I got the book, I read it, and the next day I was gung-ho because, again, I was compliant.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to get off the medications. I was still in a lot of pain, and I was still miserable. Even with Weight Watchers, I would keep my weight down, but my inflammation was awry, and my gut, my joints, my skin. I would have something that would grow out of the palm of my hand. Let me see, where's my palm? Like here. Every like 6 months, I would look, and it looked like a little like plastic thread.
Yeah. Was it like a cutaneous horn type thing?
It wasn't a horn. They call it Magellan's.
Okay.
I posted it, and I said, does anybody know what this is? Because I get it every 6 months. And I would pull it out. It would be like maybe 1/4 of an inch. It was pokey. It looked like a little fiber of plastic. During that time, I was diagnosed with, of course, fibromyalgia is kind of like something that they diagnose with lupus. I don't know. I had something called diabetes insipidus, requiring, I was just always thirsty, always munching on ice. They told me I had glaucoma. I was being treated for glaucoma. I was 50 years old. I was a mess.
Yeah.
I was a mess.
Yeah.
And what finally, with Weight Watchers, I enjoyed the coaching, but my members would ask me, okay, I need something crunchy. And you were evaluated not by how many members you had. That was a big deal. And I garnered a lot of followers that would come to my meetings, and that was always good. But you had to sell products. And if you were working in a store, if you were working in a corporate office, you had to haul all these products in, which was, anyway, just work in and of itself. But what happened was my territory manager called me in, and she says, you're supposed to be averaging $5 per member. You have a lot of members that come in that don't buy our products. And I think I was ratted out by my receptionist because they would ask me, I need something crunchy. Okay, try some celery. They wanted chips. They wanted the Weight Watchers chips.
Yeah.
And I would have the packages there. I go, can you read these ingredients? These are not potato chips. These are not corn chips. These are manufactured foods that are shaped into chips.
Yeah.
Look at all of this product. And my oldest daughter, who's, going to be a mother of 7, believe it or not.
Wow.
She was always health conscious, very, very health conscious. She goes, Mom, that's not even real food. I don't want my kids eating any of this. And my grandkids would like, Nana, can you bring me some chips from Weight Watchers because they're healthy? And she's like, no, don't.
No.
They're not healthy. So I thought, I got an evaluation. My evaluation from my members was amazing. My manager said everything was on target except my sales sucked.
Yeah.
And I guess she was evaluating one of my receptionists, and she said, well, she doesn't sell her products.
Yeah.
She always refers them to have something natural. I had one client that, the same client that came with the A1C, she asked me, she goes, well, I don't understand. What do you want me to do? I go, well, try steaming some broccoli instead of having a basket of grapes.
Yeah.
Do you know how difficult that is for me? She rebutted. She goes, I can just grab and go with my grapes, and those are zero foods, rather than sit and wait and steam. And convenience is one thing, but that saying, you're gonna pay the farmer now or pay the doctor later.
Yeah.
And that is a reality. So it was time for me to transition out. I was getting in a lot of, I guess I was triggering a lot of people on our portal, our Weight Watchers portal. I was guiding some people through there, and I said, just eliminate sugar, just eliminate. And yeah, my manager said, well, you're going to have an opportunity to bow out gracefully because we really believe in moderation. I, at that point, didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah. Because you were seeing it not work over and over again and seeing the side effects of it. So what sparked your interest in the other side? What moved you towards?
I will tell you, it was nothing but vanity. It wasn't about health. I just wanted to look good.
But where did you first hear about like a low carb option or carb restriction or anything of that nature?
I have a friend on Facebook, and I have to give her credit, Melissa Flowers. She had posted something months before, and I just remember seeing ketogenic diet on this post, and she had a before and after. And she was cute before, and oh my gosh, she was like 100 times like, wow. And it stuck in here. Yeah. But then I had to go back and look for that post. So I couldn't find that post. I sent her a message via Messenger. And she goes, I do ketogenic diet, and I intermittent fast. And she sent me to Kim Berry. She sent me to Annette Bosworth. She sent me to Jason Fung. She sent me to, this was, I think, like 2018. She sent me to several podcasts. And I thought, I've tried it. And I remember going to my coach at Weight Watchers and said, I'm thinking of doing the ketogenic diet. No, are you kidding me? Oh, that fat, you're going to get cholesterol. You're going to get a heart attack. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't say anything about that to anybody in this circle because, but it was so funny, Amanda, because as I started eliminating and changing the way I ate, I was still, with Weight Watchers, and several of the coaches were coming up to me. Well, what are you doing? I go, this is what I'm doing. Well, is it working? I go, well, you keep to me. I'm not going to you. Yeah. And I would not share anything other than listen to this podcast, listen to this. And at that point, I had discovered Tro and Brian. And I go, listen to these guys. They've struggled. Ken Berry, he struggled. You'd never believe it, like you, right? People see you now and you're this tiny little thing, but nobody knows that you were not at some point. Yeah. And so I had a lady that she goes, I want you to coach me. I go, I can't. I'm not a coach. I can't. I'm a Weight Watchers coach. She goes, okay, just help me. Ironies of ironies, right? Yeah. Yeah. And that's how I came was through my friend on Facebook. I think she lives in Tennessee, if I'm recalling. I think she lives in Tennessee, and I'm going to tag her when this is posted because, in fact, I'm almost certain she lives in Tennessee. And I just started listening to all these podcasts, and then I would send her a message. And I said, well, I think I can do everything. I'm not going to intermittent fast. You're crazy. I don't even do that for spiritual reasons. I do that for vanity reasons. And then it happened. Yeah.
It just kind of almost happens naturally sometimes.
It did with me. It was like, oh my gosh. And now up to 5 years later,
Uh-huh.
I probably don't have my first meal till 11:30, 12 o'clock. And I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
almost every day.
Wow.
So I go with 1 cup of coffee, and then I break my fast about noon. And then my husband and I usually try to have a meal like about 3 or 4 o'clock, and then we're done.
Yeah.
We're done for the day. So, but they're definitely low carb meals.
Yeah. So when did you start to notice a turnaround in your health? When did you start noticing not just the weight benefits, but the other stuff?
Immediately.
Wow.
I have to say that within 2 weeks, I was like, my husband said something to me. My husband and I met dancing. We took salsa classes, and we met, and I was married before. So my first husband, may he rest in peace, he's the father of my children, of my two daughters. And my husband is not only an amazing husband, an amazing stepfather, the best tata, grandpa that my grandkids could have. Amazing. And he said, wow, we went dancing and you did not stop. Oh, and I mean, and we went to these little senior citizen dancing places where they start like at 6 and end at 9 because I can't stay up because I get up so early. So we found a couple of places in San Diego that friends of ours would play at. And my husband was like, I cannot believe it. He goes, the energy you have, where I could dance one song, and dancing salsa is hard on your knees. It's hard on your ankles. There's a lot of pivoting that you do. And I would be like out of breath and exhausted. And I danced like 3 hours with no problem. My husband was like, I can't believe it. I'm so happy. So that was probably, I'm going to say like probably October, November of 2018. I was already on keto for about 2 months. And all of a sudden, when Tony, my husband, noticed that, it kind of like gave me like this push, like approval, if you will, to keep on this crazy way of eating, because he thought it was crazy, but he saw the results.
Yeah. And that's a complete different shift of mindset there. What started with, let me see the number on the scale move, because you'd gotten frustrated with trying to maintain for many, many years. What started with that became more about what makes me live again, what makes me that quality of life again, and something that health, not just the number on the scale. And that's a huge shift. Really,
it was amazing. In 2019 was the first time I went to a low carb conference. And I think that's when I met you there in San Diego. And I wanted to see my heroes.
Yeah.
I wanted to meet Nina Teicholz. I wanted to meet Gary Taubes. I wanted to meet Brian. I wanted to meet Ken Berry. I wanted to meet Doug and Pam. I was just like, I'm going to be this nerdiest groupie, but I got to meet these people. And what I absolutely found fascinating about every single one, but one story comes to mind. I love Brian. Brian is like my hero, all-time hero. He really is. Ken Berry, amazing. I mean, he baptized my Instagram, right? My Instagram account. Gary Taubes. I just wanted to say thank you for the books you've written. And he said, we were in the hallway, and he goes, come here and sit down. He sat down on a couch. He goes, tell me your story. I'm like, no, I don't want to tell you, but I want to hear all about you. You're like, I want to. And he's like, no, I want to hear your story. And that was repeated over and over by these people that I thought I wanted their autographs. I wanted pictures. I wanted, they were just so genuinely concerned, excited, interested.
Yeah. And nobody's trying to sell a product there.
Exactly.
Not trying to sell you on something except for you regaining your health.
And your independence.
Yeah. What is your health like today?
Okay. Well, back in 2018, I was told I had liver damage.
Mm-hmm.
I had 25% function in one kidney.
Hmm.
25. My other kidney was not good. That was damage that was done. And this was probably 5-6 years post being off all meds. I still had damage. And I went to see my doctor. He was new. I interviewed him. I wanted to make sure we were going to be a good match. And I insisted that he be my partner in my health. And he goes, well, you do have kidney damage. And he goes, I'm going to run some more tests. So I went back. I got my results. He goes, I think I had the wrong file when I was looking at your labs. And I go, why would you say that? He goes, you have no kidney damage. And I was already doing keto.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, you have no liver damage. And I could see the liver, repairing itself.
Mm-hmm.
The kidneys, I go, well, that's interesting that you would say that you were looking at the wrong report, because I have my labs right here.
Mm-hmm.
And my labs back then showed this and this. And even the nephrologist that I saw says, your kidney, it's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. Thank God you have 2.
Yeah.
But the results are not good. And he goes, well, I don't understand. Normally we just see a decline. We don't see it
You
better.
don't see it go the other way. Well, in traditional medicine, you don't see it go the other way.
No, ever. So I am so happy to say that I've been 5 years low carb keto. I kind of go where I'll do like 3 weeks or 2 weeks of just carnivore, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll do very strict keto, and then I kind of relax a little bit and do more low carb.
A little bit of carb cycling there a little bit.
I do that now. Having moved to Prescott, or as the locals call it, Prescott, I became eligible for Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for a practitioner, a doctor. I honestly, like a week before I was going to this facility, I prayed. I was asking the Lord just to guide me to someone that wasn't going to put me on a statin, that wasn't going to put me on metformin, because I knew that was going to be possibly the statin because of the cholesterol.
Yeah.
That was going to, maybe not the metformin, but statin for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk in, and she's a nurse practitioner like yourself. Her name is Lorraine Spears. She's also from Tennessee. Oh my goodness.
Tennessee's the best state ever.
And I walked in and we talked, and she had some time and she spent time with me, and it turns out she's low carb. So we fast and furiously became buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we became buddies, and she was leaving that facility, going to another facility. She gave me her cell number. How many doctors do you know give you their private cell number?
Yeah.
And although she's not a doctor, she's a nurse practitioner, but nonetheless, seriously. We talked about Brian, and guess what? This Saturday, we have reservations because Brian also bought a house here in Prescott. He hasn't relocated totally, but he's here this week. And on Saturday, they get to meet because I coordinated a luncheon for the 4 of us, including Brian's wife, Linnell. So, we'll be all hanging out. And hopefully I can convince Brian to start a low-carb group here.
That would be very nice.
That would be good. So my health now, it's good. In full disclosure, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's and dealing with that. But it's hard to... And this I tell my clients now, I go, it's hard to repair in a few years damage that was done either by a disease or by the meds for 20 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes
the damage can't be all the way undone. Sometimes it can be improved, but you can't fix.
Yeah. So
it's where, a lot of people get confused. They go low carb and they have a heart attack, 6 months into low carb, and they blame the low carb. I'm like, no, that process started decades before you got to low carb. And you just, 6 months is not enough to fix 3 decades of poor eating and poor health and environmental exposures and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So I do a little bit of coaching here.
Yeah, tell us about that. You coach specifically the elder people.
Elderly, because qualify. I
Girl.
qualify at 65. But I have a couple of clients, and I don't take on a lot because I have other interests. I'm a designer. I make wearables, and so I really devote a lot of time to that. I just super enjoy that. I couldn't do it before. My hands were so swollen. The arthritis, and now that I can, I do. So I take on maybe half a dozen clients at a time.
So the career ADHD hasn't stopped.
I have an appointment today with a little vintage fashion store that's going to carry some of my products and my handmade stuff. So I have that later on today. I'm really excited. So yeah, the career ADHD has totally, at the age of 65, not been cured, and it won't be cured by keto.
No, keto's not going to fix that. But tell us about some of the challenges, specifically in the elderly population, with transferring to a low carb lifestyle.
Okay, I'm going to start because my brother-in-law called me this week, and he always calls me either to confess or to tell me his accomplishments. And when he started keto, it was really interesting. We went on a trip to Ensenada. My husband and I took my oldest sister's almost 20 years older than I am. Mm-hmm. I'm the youngest of 7. So I'm 65. She's 84. She was 80 at the time, and he was 85 at the time. And so, we're going to all the restaurants and taking them to all these nice places to eat. Mm-hmm. And I would say, double my meat, no rice and beans, get me some guacamole. I want some sliced cucumbers, slice them long way so I can dip them in my salsa. Mm-hmm. And he was kind of like, he's very observant. And why do you eat like that? And I said, to keep up with you. I'm eating like this. And he said, well, he goes, the following day, he goes, just order what you order for me. I want to eat like you. I want to see what that's like. Yeah. And he goes, but chips and cucumber, really? And I go, try it. I mean, what I tell my elderlies who are accustomed to certain things, I go, you got to get out of that comfort zone, because you have to decide one of two things. Am I going to live to eat, or am I going to eat to live? Mm-hmm. And that has become my mantra. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do? Tell me, what am I going to do? And I ask them, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. Are you going to just live so you can eat everything? Or are you going to eat so you could live? And it's, And one thing I firmly believe in, Amanda, is I didn't decide when I was born. That was a God decision, not mine. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to decide when I'm going to leave this earth. True. That's already predetermined. Yeah. However, what I have control over is what's in that dash between my birth date and my end date. What is in that dash? I have 2 daughters. I should have had 10, because then they could have passed me on, to each other. I had 2 daughters, and one of them has 7 kids, and 6. She's expecting her 7th. But I knew that I did not, and it's out of my control, really. But I want to do what I can to live in a way that's healthy, so that, my prayer is to die in my sleep. I don't want to be on dialysis. I don't want to be doing any, having to depend on my daughters. Although I also understand that may be a blessing to them, that may be something that God has planned for their spiritual growth. Yeah. And that's a possibility, and I accept that. Yeah. But with the challenges, I ask that to my clients all the time. My brother-in-law called me this week, and he goes, I know you're going to do a podcast, and I want you to mention me, and his name is Mario Contreras, because he's going to be 90 in December. Wow. So he's been low carb since 2019.
Wow. So, you know, as long as you have breath, as long as you are breathing, you have the opportunity to make your life better and to be healthier and live longer and have more vitality, no matter what age you are.
He is amazing. He was the uh, best known Mexican radio station DJ in Ventura County, which is in northern kind of middle central California in
Yeah.
Oxnard. And he looked like Raymond Burr. I don't know if you remember the old Perry Mason series, but he was that handsome. And he's still that handsome at 89 years old. But one of the things that he asked me after we concluded our little 4-day vacation, he goes, do you think it'll take care of this? And he shows me his hand and, you know, he's doing this tremor. I said, I don't know. I don't know, but I know it helps with inflammation.
Yeah.
Girl, he says, I can't sleep. I have arthritis in my neck. I'm on a experimental drug for Parkinson's.
Mm.
He had a diagnosis of Parkinson's.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm on probably the highest level of metformin, and I'm probably going to be prescribed insulin.
Mm.
And he was a Weight Watcher guy also.
Yeah.
And so I said, I don't know, Mario. Let's see. Mm-hmm. So 4 months later, he was taken off all medication.
Wow.
All medication. He has no tremor. I didn't believe it. I went to Oxnard and I videotaped him. And I said, I want to see your hand. I want it. Let me see, where's my hand? I want to see your hand.
Uh-huh.
And it was, let me see, I can't even. It was like, oh, my hand's ugly.
It was still. It was very still.
He held it still. And that has been like, this has been his magic pill.
Yeah.
This has been his magic pill. I have a friend that I'm a quilter and I sew. And I have a friend that I met at a retreat and she was like, lupus, I never heard lupus can be reversed. My cousin died of lupus because she died of the medication.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of clients, you know, in their upper 60s, around my age that I'm working with. But my brother-in-law is like, he's going to be 90 in December. Because I'm walking around the block, which is about a mile. Mm-hmm. He had his knees were replaced in another, you know, back 10, 15 years ago. Yeah. He sleeps. Every week he makes a bone broth, or my sister makes him a bone broth. And I told him, you need to eat meat. Mm-hmm. You need to eat meat. You're not eating enough protein. And he goes, well, you know, and he called me. He goes, you know, your sister's been feeding me meat and I lost 2 pounds. I lost 2 pounds. And the cute thing is that when he went to the doctor at that, I think it was like at the 4-month marker when he started keto, his doctor was typing on the computer and telling him, Mr. Contreras, you're doing everything backwards. And he was like, okay. And he goes, I don't understand these blood results, your blood pressure. And then finally he you know, he turned around and he's talking to him face to face. Because my brother-in-law was just sitting there like, I don't know, I'm not going to talk to him until he
addresses me.
Face to face. Yeah, addresses me. He was just on his computer. And he goes, I'm taking you off metformin. I'm lowering your metformin. I'm taking you off. You have no tremor. I'm not going to keep you on that drug. I don't know what it was. He said, your inflammation levels are all down. Your blood pressure, your cholesterol. I don't know what to do, but you're doing everything backwards because instead of me prescribing you more medication and putting you on insulin, which I thought I was going to do, I'm taking you off a lot of your medications. Yeah. And he goes, well, doctor, do you want to know what I'm doing? He goes, no, just keep doing it. And he said, doctor, then I have to tell you, you are doing everything backwards.
Yeah.
But isn't that, and you know, Brian and I talked about it. And of course it has to do with standard of care. Okay. I've been released by 2 physicians because I'm non-compliant. And I'm considered non-compliant because I ask questions. I said, well, how is this going to impact my health in the long term? A statin drug, how is that going to impact my health? They don't tell me. They just say, well, your cholesterol is really high. I go, well, I can live with a high cholesterol.
Well, honestly, many times they don't know. There's many times that if I would have been asked that, I'd be like, I don't know. We're just
Yeah.
trying to treat this other thing. I don't know about the other side, how it's going to
Yeah.
make it worse. And unfortunately, we're all just one big test experiment type thing, trying to see what
Oh, yeah.
comes out. And it's so hard for people to believe that food can be your better medicine than any medicine that's out there. We're so trained to believe that medicines are the only way to help, that medicines are the only way to treat conditions, when that's not the case. Sometimes the medicines are causing the conditions, or sometimes it's our environment or our food or whatnot that is causing the condition, and it can be reversed. Now, we're not saying that every single case of lupus and Parkinson's can be reversed. I mean, I have
Absolutely.
I have an autoimmune condition. I have psoriasis. I've had it since I was 5. I treat it with diet. It's well under controlled under my diet. It's on like 2% of my body instead of 85% of my body.
Yeah.
But it's still there. And even if, no matter how strict I am, it's still there. So it might reverse things. It definitely can improve things, though.
Absolutely.
And when you come from a place like where you were, or where your brother-in-law was, what does it hurt to try?
Exactly. It doesn't hurt. And the funny thing, my husband was like, I ain't doing that crazy diet. Crazy. Well, Mr. Alaniz, Antonio Alaniz, hasn't, he lost initially 40 pounds, then lost 50 pounds.
Wow.
And just by listening to my brother-in-law's insistent questions while we were traveling down wine country and in Baja, we're going to all these restaurants, and my brother-in-law keeps asking questions. And so I had a captive audience in my husband, who had never asked me anything. And one day he calls me and he goes, "You're not going to believe what I just ordered." And I go, "What?" He goes, "I ordered a bunless burger." He goes, "How weird is that?" And he was well on his way to losing 50 pounds. Yeah. He had a little cardiac scare, not just some results that he wasn't happy about. And he had, we moved here. We're 3 blocks from Whiskey Row, tons of restaurants, alcohol available all over.
Yeah.
We're just like, woo-hoo,
we're college kids all over again.
Let's go and listen to this band and go have a glass of wine here and go have, whatever. And although, we tend to be low carb, we just kind of let it get a little bit, out of control. But he immediately lost 25 pounds.
Wow.
Just immediately, because all he knew what to do. Yeah. And then he asked me, he goes, every once in a while, I want a flour tortilla. So I went to Sprouts looking for, because he doesn't have, his hormones are different than my hormones, really. And I asked him, I said, I bought him some tortillas. I took a half of one. I was so miserable. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My thumbs, I guess they're my weakest joints. I mean, everything just focuses. And once I feel it here, I know it's going to start, Yeah. So I said, you know what? I go, we can't do this. We can't, not even one flour tortilla. I said, it's not good. So my daughter goes, try sourdough, make your own. And that way you control the oils. Mm-hmm. You control the ingredients. So I started making him some sourdough. I just freeze him. I make him tortillas. I freeze him. He'll have one. He'll have 2. And I'll have one maybe once a week, maybe once every other week. No inflammation, no weight gain, none. But they're made with real butter. They're made with half and half, or heavy whipping cream, organic flour, real salt, not. I use pure ingredients, and I can get away with one every 7-10 days.
Yeah. There's something about the sourdough that sprouts the bread or does something that changes the makeup of it that makes it a little bit healthier. I still can't do it. It still makes me itch when I have certain spots. But if you can get away with
homemade tortilla where all the ingredients are controlled, all of them are good ingredients. Yeah. And I'm convinced that what was happening were the seed oils in the tortillas, the store-bought tortillas, the seed oils. Because we don't have any of those industrial grade oils. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right. So leave our viewers with your parting words of wisdom. Let's see about just sticking to it long term.
be aware of your symptoms.
Mhm.
Really, really, you have to be aware because pain is really funny. You know when you have it and it gnaws at you. You don't know when you don't. When that pain goes away, you're just back to normal and you don't realize that something happened that relieved that pain. So my brother-in-law is really good. He goes, I know when I cheat. I have to call you to confess because I see a piece of banana because my sister kind of does a little low carb, but she's
not there yet.
not there, and that's fine. She supports him, but she would eat half of a banana and leave the other half. And he's like, I'm not going to waste that organic banana. I'm going to eat it. And you become aware of how food impacts your body. So again, my parting words are these. What are your choices are this? Are you living to eat or are you eating to live?
Absolutely.
And those are just I resonate that with and I resonate with that. And I always, whenever I have a coaching call or a visit, or I always ask that question, what did you decide? Are you living to eat? And I tell you, to me, it was all about Little Italy and Little Chinatown, and it's not anymore. And I can still do a little bit of that, but I just have to plan ahead. And right now what I'm doing is I'm bombarding my clients with emails, with recipes, because Thanksgiving is coming. And there's some options that we can do. And somebody said, well, I don't know if I can do cauliflower mashed potatoes. That was gross. And I said, do half.
Yeah.
Do half. Make sure they're fatty. Make them with cream cheese. Make them with butter. And I do that with my husband. He hates cauliflower. He doesn't know he has cauliflower rice because it's so savory and it's a good cook.
Yeah.
And he's like, I hate cauliflower rice. I hate cauliflower potato salad. Until he eats it, he has no clue. It's good food. Think about that and think about the holidays. Remember, it's 2 days. It's not, and I know we think of it as a holiday season where we get to indulge. It's Thanksgiving and it's Christmas, and New Year's is next year, not this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. We're talking about the same thing here at our clinic, telling people go in it with a plan, not just with the hope that you're going to do better. Because my husband likes to tell me over and over again, hope is an emotion. It's a feeling. It's not a strategy.
Exactly.
You don't stick to feelings. You stick to strategies. So,
but one of the things I have to say, one of my clients, she goes, I've kind of lost a little bit of weight, but I went to the doctor and I no longer have fatty liver disease. And I'm just like, that's better than any number on a scale.
It is. Those non-scale victories.
Alcoholic fatty disease has been reversed.
Yeah.
Keto has done that.
Yeah.
Keto has done that. There's hope.
Yeah.
And let food be your medicine.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Coco. It was my pleasure to have you here, and I hope we have many more conversations, and I hope we get to see each other again soon. It's been
I hope
long.
So. Boca.
Hopefully.
All right, honey.
All right, lady. Take care.
All right, take care.